Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbett, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. My guest today is Coach David Ian Rogers, who helps people dissolve trauma, mental illness, and addiction for good. After experiencing deep personal trauma and addiction following the loss of two close friends, David became obsessed with one question. How does the mind actually create and dissolve suffering? So what he discovered led him to develop a process that has helped over 2,600 people so far release emotional pain at the root, and his website is full of glowing testimonials. I mean, those are certainly bold claims, so I can't wait to hear more about this method. Welcome, David, and thank you so much for taking the time to be on my show today.
Thank you, Claudia. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. David, you have said something pretty bold, that trauma, addiction, and even mental illness can be cleared for good. What did you see or experience that made you so certain that this wasn't just another coping strategy?
Great question to start. 26 years ago, just a little over, started the new millennia, January 3rd, 2000. I lost two friends on a road traffic accident. 6 years later, one of those friends came back as a spirit guide. I always laugh at this point now because I find it completely alien to my prior experience up until that mystical event, whereas walked in to my to the house I was renting a room off at the time, and the lady said to me, are you okay? So I said, not too good. She said, yeah, he said that. So I said, there's nobody else here. Who did? She said, oh, he's only been here since you've been here. So I said, there's nobody here. She said, your best friend who died in the accident, Sean, he's my spirit guide. At which point a tear down my left eye dropped. She said, oh, I've shocked you. I said, well, you're bound to. We've never had a conversation about what's happened 6 years ago. She said, sit down. And she proceeded to answer every question that my friend, who said he was there at the time, and I had no reason to believe, about 35 minutes later, when she proceeded to tell me his middle name, which was Sean, what we called him, and his first name, which was John. I said, why did we call him Sean if his first name was John? She said, oh, he's just told me to avoid confusion in the household because his father's called John. So I said, that's right. I said, what was his surname? Just to be sure, he was Irish. She said, it's Dieu. I went. She went, believe me now. I went, that was my private in-house joke between him and me. His name was Dyer, not spelled as in terrible, D-I-R-E, but D-Y-E-R, the Irish surname. So Dyer by name, Dyer by nature. That was our little in joke. And I had to sit down at this point because I went from believing all there was what you can see and touch and feel to, oh my God, he's here. She said, he knows you. So I said, yeah, he does. She said, ask any more questions. So I said, yeah. Did he have any brothers? Yes. One. Name, Michael. Any sisters? Yes, two. Names, Helen and Anne. I went, correct. At this point, I was just shaken to the core, really. And she said, "Oh my God," she had a tendency to do that, dear Janet. She said, "Oh my God, he's just told me you're suicidal." I went, "I'm not feeling too good." She said, "He's just told me you always joke about how you really feel. It's going to come in really handy." So I said, "What do you mean it's going to come in really handy?" She said, "You're suicidal. He's just told me you're suicidal." I said, "Yeah, I'm not feeling too good." She said, "You've just seen his mother 3 weeks ago." So I said, "Yes, I have." She set something off. She's asked you a question, and it set something off in your mind. He's just told me now you've got a mind puzzle to work out, and if you work it out, you're going to help millions. I said, "Well, no pressure then," but that was typically on. At which point she just said, I don't know how to tell you this." So I said, "Well, you're doing a really good job at shocking me to the core and causing me to shake like a leaf." She said, "When you've worked it out, you will help millions of people, but you've got to ask questions you want the answer to." He said, "Most people ask questions they don't want the answer to. Why do I keep getting parking tickets? Why do I keep getting things that I don't want in my life? Why do I attract abusive partners? Blah, 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 blah." That's subconscious teachings I learned. So as a consequence, it set me on, in answer to your question, it set me on a path that reading, spiritual reading, whatever you want to call it, I still don't really understand too much about clairvoyance, mediumship. It's not something that I've been interested in, despite the fact I've sat in many a spiritualist church, and the president who knows me said, "Oh my God, David, that person just told me he wants to kill himself. Go and have a word with him." And I'll joke and say, "What are you asking me for? I don't want to be upset by what he's doing." She said, "Get out there." And within a certain period of time, sat in my car. One president of the spiritualist church in Manchester will confirm that I've helped quite a few people clear their suicidal feelings. So that was the wake-up call, losing 2 friends in a road traffic accident.
That's quite a story, and thank you so much for sharing. I mean, that's a terrible, terrible experience, and I don't even I can't even pretend to know what went through your mind and how you must have felt. But what shifted for you in how you experienced reality after you had that talk?
It made me realize I wasn't going mad. It gave me a different frame of reference. It made me aware that the counsellor, the victim support counsellor in the UK that they refer people to, like me, victims of road traffic accidents, anything traumatic, she wasn't able to help me. I was actually on a counselling diploma at the time, and it made me very aware that when I went in personal development, that the people who were in training were definitely in training, because when they were supposed to be actively listening, my story was triggering that many, "Oh, I know, I've had that as well," rather than just listening and applying the concepts of unconditional positive regard, etc., etc. The experience definitely made me aware of the experiential experience of a heyoka being a heyoka.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back to that aspect. Something that I'm curious about is that a lot of people build their businesses around their pain. You've basically built yours around dissolving your pain. How did that journey into entrepreneurship begin?
It's not something that you can sell to anybody. "Hi, I can help you clear your schizophrenia, your ADHD, your repeated thoughts, which are trapped in your automatic system, in your the 4 systems in the subconscious, which I've linked by just doing some diaphragmatic breathing after asking you 2 conscious questions to the conscious part of your brain to obtain its permission to open the angular gyrus, which means then the only thing that can connect those 2 parts of the brain, which is the breath, according to Job 3:2, chapter and verse, the breath shall cleareth the mind. And that is how I worked out how to clear and start my own business. It's not a business. This is not a business. What I do is a vocation. I can answer a message or a phone call at 11:30 at any time of the day, and I won't put them on a waiting list. I can clear whatever bad feeling they've got within 10 minutes, depending on how long the story takes in their own mind for them to actually just think about it. Then I brought it up from this part of the brain where the 4 different systems compartmentalize the trauma. The amygdala, the threat detection, the basal ganglia, where the beliefs are. I've always had this problem. I'll always have this problem. I always self-sabotage. I always throw things, sabotage my own business. I am so successful and I throw it away, but I don't know why. It's because you were taught never to receive love from your mother or father or the person who is supposed to love you. So,
now, if you stripped away all the labels like trauma, addiction, anxiety, and so on, what do you believe is actually happening inside the mind when someone feels emotionally stuck?
I can only speak from my own experience and 2,600 and so many individuals I've helped in the last 5 years, based on the thoughts we have about our past experiences creates in this part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, in the moment of the trauma, the moment of the betrayal, the bullying, the harassment, the whatever we're experiencing, and it drops into here, into the top of the brainstem, because it's gone through the limbic system where all the emotions connect and then are stored, but they're all created here in the moment of the, oh my God, I can't cope with da-da-da-da-da. I'm feeling this. And what's really going on for people who are empathic, I'll come back to that when it's the right juncture here, but I can only help empaths. I can't help anybody else who is not empathic and doesn't want to be well. And what it does in the moment of trauma, it drops in there, subconscious, and in the different systems of the automatic system, it becomes a belief. It becomes in the basal ganglia, hippocampus, it becomes a trauma response memory. And in essence, in those different systems, it's all held together, created by the thoughts about those memories, and it creates the bad feeling we call anxiety, worry about the future, depression, sadness about the past, suicidal feeling in the now. And also it actually clears the addictive urge or craving feeling as well. We're not addicted to anything outside of ourselves. That's been proven many a times with many a client. Because the thought, in answer to your question, what people are going through is they're unaware that their conscious thoughts in the moment of trauma and disconnection, in the case of addiction, is literally being stored in another part of the brain, which, ask any other modality practitioner, would tell you it can't be deleted, it can't be cleared, because it's in the subconscious where it's closed off. However, I've worked out by using certain phrases to transfer it back from here to here, where it was created, where it can be deleted. So in answer to your question, people are going through a subconscious fallacious belief system that they have to throw everything away, because those beliefs, those memories, those thoughts were actually programmed in the first 7 years of their life into the only fully formed part of their brain, which was the subconscious. This wasn't formed till after year 8, 9, 10, or even
later on.
Years. Yeah. Hence the Aristotle phrase, show me the boy at 7, I'll show you the man. What I've worked out is how to actually dissolve those bad feelings for good, and they don't come back once you've opened the angular gyrus, which is the gateway between the conscious and the subconscious mind.
So, of course, I want to know how this works and what those phrases are. So, can you talk about how exactly your process works and why it only works with empath and all the other good stuff? Spill the beans.
Yeah, sure. In essence, our thoughts create our reality. And so 2 people in a road traffic accident, both survive. One could have programming which causes them to believe that they'll never get over it, and another will actually seek out, and they're my audience, they're my tribe, they're my people, if you like, who are looking for the answer to work out how their own mind can delete their issues. So I went back to my journal after a week, actually. I was in shock for a week or two after my deceased friend came through telling me every fact that I asked in real time in a reading. And I started asking questions I wanted answers to. Like, why is it I feel so bad in my stomach whenever I think about the accident? Why can I not sleep at night without seeing the 2 bodies on the road? So I asked stuff like that, and it was creating the bad feeling. I looked at my advice given to me by Sean in the reading, and he said, ask questions you want the answer to. So I worked out that when I asked the question, what part of the brain creates it, I learned from various textbooks that the conscious mind is the prefrontal lobe cortex, which is the thinking brain, the thinker. It's the willpower. It's the what have I got to do here? It's the analysis, the logic brain, which tries to make sense of what's happened, which is why in many instances we feel a person's energy before we understand the mind's going, what happened here? I feel really bad with this person. I feel okay with this person. I don't understand. The mind's trying to work out because the subconscious feels before the mind can use its logic about what's going on, because it bases everything on the past. And that's the problem for entrepreneurs who are in this loop. Have you ever noticed how people can be so logical and well-reasoned, and they know their problems, but they can't stop those bad feelings? And so it is like a loop. And as a consequence, my process using the breath, opening the angular gyrus, and getting the memories from here to here is by a process where I worked out that Einstein stated quite clearly that everything has an opposite. So what is causing the mind to have a problem? Our repeated thoughts about whatever it is we think we can't stop. The drinking, the gambling, the anxiety, the depression, the tics and Tourette's caused by Ritalin tablets. And most medications, which has got most of the symptoms in, but it also suppresses the stress molecular aspect of any particular symptom. And as a consequence, what actually happens is when we think about those things, it creates the bad feeling. I worked out that when you say, using Einstein's theory, everything has an opposite. What's the opposite of thinking? No thinking. So when you say without thinking, this brain's going, without thinking what? My job is to think. What do you tell me not to think? Without thinking, go to, and then you ask the person, and I use specifically emotions. So without thinking, go to the last time it was really bad, the anxiety or the depression or whatever the issue is. And like putting in a zip code if you're in the USA or a postcode in the UK, the mind goes, I'm there. And within seconds, the client is in bits. They're in, oh my God, he's here now. Oh my God, what's going on? Because you've aligned with the key, with the alignment of the two minds by saying without thinking. And this mind's going, without thinking what? And you say, boom, abused memories, betrayed memories, cheated on memories, whatever the memory is, it goes straight there. Oh my God, I've got it now. And I just ask them to stay in those memories very briefly till they've got really sure they've got the feeling. Once they've got the feeling, do you want to get rid of it? Yes or no? Make sense holding on to it? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And then make sense holding on to it? No. What I have to do, because it's binary, I have to have 2 yes and no answers. And they both have to be yes and no. Literally, yes, I want to get rid of it. And that gives this machine's permission. Believe it or not, Claudia, I've had 8 narcissistic sociopaths book in because they lost their punch bag. I mean, they lost their best friend to my working with me. They said, I'm not listening to this rubbish. You don't need to talk about your rubbish. I work with this guy, and he just guided me to clear all the negative emotions, and I can't get them back one by one in a 2-hour session. You do the same. And they booked in, and within 5 minutes, they're gone. Gone.
Let me push you a little bit here. So if someone listening has been struggling with whatever it is they're struggling with for, say, 10 plus years, they have tried maybe therapy, maybe coaching, maybe hypnotherapy, everything. What makes your approach so fundamentally different? I mean, a lot of people like hypnotherapy.
Modality.
Say again?
It's how the mind, human mind, and the empathic mind clears its trauma, mental illness, and which is the root cause. The trauma is the root cause of all mental illness, according to the last 35 years of psychiatric research, which they bury. And it's the opposite to psychiatric drug pushing, because they say the feelings create the thoughts. No, they say the feelings create the thoughts. No, they don't. It's the opposite way around, and they know
that. So it's the thoughts create the feeling. You get into this feeling state that you want to get rid of. You ask your logical mind if you really want to get rid of it, if it makes sense to hold on to whatever you're holding on to. And then then your mind just does the trick once it realizes that it doesn't.
No. Then you use the Holy Spirit. I mean the breath.
At
the
that
Holy
point.
Spirit is you. You know the phrase, we're all one? We are when we're breathing in and out. And that's the all one. That's the invisible, omnipotent power of the Holy Spirit. The difference between what I do, and I'm a guide, I'm not a healer. Everyone says, oh, we're a great healer. No, I'm not heal anyone apart from myself. The difference between me and anybody else on this planet is one thing. I'm guiding people to heal their own trauma. Hence why I need their permission, because I've had quite a few people jump on the call and I've said, oh, I've read the email. Let's get to it. I'm going to go for the jugular here without thinking. Go to the abused memories, the suicidal things. Oh, I've had none of them. Oh, you've had none of them. Oh, somebody's booked you in. Are you psychic? How do you know that? Because trauma is the root cause of all mental illness. And you've just told me that you don't have any of that, which means you're a liar. Your pants are on fire. I can't help you. What do you mean? You don't want the help. you're making the whole thing up. You're looking for your next victim. I mean, your next friend who you can dump on. How do you know they're not offended? They're not offended.
Oh
my God, you're really good. I'm trauma-free. I'll say the truth. I won't butter you up, say nice things to keep you in session so I get paid. I don't get paid if I don't get you to clear your own.
I mean, as you said, there's this deeply spiritual element to your story. The idea of being this Heyoka empath and even the guidance from beyond that we already talked about. How do you, first of all, maybe you can explain what a Heyoka empath is, and then how do you reconcile, I mean, this very spiritual approach with a grounded practical process that also non-spiritual people can apply, or does it only work for spiritual people?
That's a lovely question. It only works for empaths. End of. Narcissists in the movie, in the story of our mind, where we are journeying along, we have a narcissistic mother. Well, I did. Who was my greatest teacher, my biggest curse, but the most profound learning and development occurred. The spiritual aspect is merely, I worked out how the mind really works because my best mate came back as a spirit guide to this woman I was renting a room off, and she more or less told me, well, he did through her, what had been happening 3 weeks earlier. He came back to save my life. I kept that secret for 6 years. Because I thought I was going mad, and because a Heyoka means great mirror. So Heyoka means the first energy medicine man on the planet, healer on the planet, who worked out his own mind's the problem. He worked out that once you transfer the memories from one part to another and back, so you get them to go back into the subconscious, bring it back, it's live to be cleared by the only thing that connects both minds, which is the breath.
Can you talk more about the specific breath pattern that you use? Because there's a lot of breath work.
Yeah, it's inextricably linked with the Master Buddha. It's how he became enlightened. I went to a Bhutan monastery in Nepal, and I was teaching maths and getting the naughty kids to listen because I was mirroring them, and they get very bored, the young kids in the monastery. And I was mirroring, so they'd laugh at me. I'd go, but I'd crank it up and I'd mirror it back so the young kids could see and feel the fear that they were trying to project onto me by laughing at me. I would do it like an owl and amplify it even more so they start to shake. That's a Heyoka. The Heyoka was, according to the scriptures in Bhutan monastery, were like this. I said to the Rinpoche, I said, who's the guy with the funny rubbery face? I'm 60, by the way, Claudia. When you're trauma-free, there's no stress can age you. So I said to the guy, I said, he said, he looks like you. He's young-looking, rubbery face. He said, we don't understand the scriptures underneath. So I said, translate it for me. He said, well, the Heyoka is asking the master, have you cleared the feeling, master? My eyes widened. He said, do you understand that? So I said, yeah, he's asking him, has he cleared a feeling that he's asked him to clear? He said, but how? I said, I don't know. Then I said, what was the reply of the Buddha? He said, well, this is what we don't know. We don't know why the Buddha is laughing. I said, what did he say? I was all ears at this point. And he said, never mind the feeling, Heyoka. I can't remember. The memory was supposed to be clearing. That is exactly what all my clients say when we've done a clearing. And I say, now try and get it back. And they go, what was the memory?
Interesting.
Which is why I ask all of my clients, not all of them do, to give me a verifiable email address, because at that point, my business, and it's not a business, it ain't a business. No, I'm not selling mental wellness. That's the spiritual movement does that. This is not. It's neither. It's not a business.
It's a personal mission. It's a personal mission for sure.
Yeah. My granddad said to me once, he said, if you need to advertise it, rest assured you don't need it. He's right. He used to sell petrol.
Now, here's a bit of a philosophical question for you. Do you think that most people are more afraid of their own pain or of who they would become without it? Because a lot of people just hang on to their pain, right?
They tend to move towards it, yeah.
They
tend to use towards it. But if I heard a phrase, I'm trying to dredge it up from a memory bank. I think it was NLP that says people move towards away from pain and towards the pleasure. They don't, not in my experience, because people are not rational beings. They're not logical. They pretend to be. In a 2-horse race, if the subconscious mind is told that Donald Trump is a rapist and Biden is just a bent politician, who do you think most people would choose if they're told often enough? They would choose Biden. Yeah. I didn't want to insult your intelligence there, because you may have said Trump because he won, but that was because of a different marketing tool used by the people who were cleverly flipping it, along with Charlie Kirk, who just flipped the narrative there by insulting highlighting the left's approach to not liking Trump, where there is no reason not to, unless you think he's a rapist and he's a misogynist and everything that you've been told often enough. That's the problem humanity has. The media and the people who push the coping strategies are doing it with clear conscious intent, because they know the subconscious mind, if it's told something often enough, it will believe it, despite being a crock of.
Yeah, I really think that people move toward what they subconsciously believe they deserve.
Correct.
So that's probably why some choose pain and some choose pleasure.
I don't think the consciously choosing to be successful because their logical brain can make money. Subconsciously, when they've made that money, they don't think they deserve it. So what they'll do, they'll throw it away on gambling. Because a football manager asked me once upon a time on a 3-hour journey in the UK, and he said, David, why is it some people have it all and throw it all away? And I said, if the little girl or little boy from wherever they're from is successful and earns thousands of pounds doing what they do, no matter how much they earn, they'll throw it away if they don't have the unconditional love from their mother or father. That football manager didn't talk to me for the rest of that trip, and it was a long trip. You got the message. Now, choosing to actually wanting to stop the self-sabotage is a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
If you're a narcissistic sociopath whose soul has left the building, if the soul has left the building, They've come here, no matter how much they say logically they want to, they won't be able to access their pain to clear it. Which I found over the last 5 years jaw-dropping. Do you want to clear that bad feeling? Hell no. But you're booked in. Yes, I know. And they've just slammed the laptop down and gone. And I've gone, what the
Really?
hell? Yeah. The mind takes over. The mind, you've not noticed how people have chosen certain things, narratives on the television over the last 5 years, and they've taken those choices and are wondering why they've got the symptoms that they have that is causing them pain, but still not wanting to choose to resolve them.
Yeah. It has a lot to do with identity patterns and how you're brought up, I guess. Now, when you personally feel overwhelmed, or sometimes I guess your mind as well might try to pull you back into old patterns, as the mind has the tendency to do, right? What is your real-time process for navigating that?
Brilliant. It can't. Once you've got rid of the bad feeling, once you've got rid of the I don't deserve this success feeling, it can't come back. The glue that holds those memories in those different parts of the automatic system, the subconscious, your beliefs change. Once you get rid of the I hate myself feeling, it's impossible to hate yourself.
Okay, I have to take your word for that.
No, not necessarily. Do you have a limiting belief you'd like to get rid of?
Whew. Probably.
Whatever you do here, you do not tell me what the belief is and the story that, without thinking, just go to a story you'd love to be able to clear, that you've tried. Like all my ex-clients say, I thought I cleared that, David. Oh my God. So go to a memory, which you know is stopping you being successful.
Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
You had no choice. Without thinking, this mind's going, without thinking what? Without thinking what? We're not thinking. Without thinking. And now allow the mind to tell you the story, go from the start, the middle, and the end. Tell me when you've got that same old feeling you always have when you are triggered by the TV, by a couple in the park or wherever talking, and that subject comes up and your mind goes straight to it. Just go to it and go to the pain point of that story, the bit that always gets you. Oh my God. Got the bad feeling?
Yep.
Oh, that's good. Can you imagine a therapist saying that? That's good. You're in pain. That's how mind process differs. That feeling right there created by those thoughts and memories, would you like to delete them for good? Yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, God, she's an empath. Thank God for that. Makes sense holding on to that feeling? Yes or no?
No.
Good. Put your hand on the diaphragm. Where's that, David? Good question, Claudia. Hand over the belly button. That's the diaphragm. This here, the prefrontal lobe, cortex, when you breathe in through the nose, keeping the mouth closed, does the belly just come out a little bit? Good. That means you're not psychologically reversed. We don't have to do something else and have to do something else. Now, you ready? Keeping the mouth closed, follow my rhythm of diaphragmatic breathing. You ready? And the lightest, shortest sniff of the air. Hold it there. Keeping the mouth closed at all times. When you're ready, exhale into the belly. Keeping the mouth closed at all times. You ready? Follow my rhythm again. Lighter than that. The lightest, shortest sniff of the air. It's an effortless process. Keeping the mouth closed. Follow my rhythm initially. I'm only going up, but you don't have to move your head up and down. Okay. I'm just doing it so you can, So that's how I know I've got your complete compliance in the situation, your permission here. I've done it. Used to do that, and people are going, I said, why are you doing that? And they just start laughing. It's just, as my process has evolved. So again, keeping the mouth closed. everything you're thinking whilst you're doing the breathing there. Interesting, yes or no? Please say no.
Didn't think anything.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's really good. I'm just clearing any limiting beliefs around the story, which would try and hook it back in. You didn't have any. The mere fact that you're laughing your little cotton socks off now tells me one thing, that the bad feeling has gone.
Yeah.
Okay, try and get it back. Good luck with that.
No, right now I can't.
All my clients say that. And then 3 months later, when I say, can I have a testimonial? They go, testimonial for what, David? I can't remember the issues. I said, I can. Here's the email you sent me. Oh my God, David, I can't remember. Oh, what?
That's awesome. I will definitely see how it goes. And thank you so much for demonstrating.
You're welcome. I'm here to clear the whole planet of trauma for the empaths. The narcissistic sociopaths wouldn't be interested anyway. Their job is to create the trauma. Oh God, what have I said? But it's true. I'm joking, but it's true.
Well, I hope that people get a lot of benefit from your work and that you're able to fulfill your mission. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today?
I don't think so, no. We'll keep apart from obviously the links to my website. No. I don't think so.
Speaking of the links to your website, so where can listeners find you online if they would like to learn more about your work with you?
It's www.davidianrogers.com. My backstory, testimonials, clients, you can contact any of most of them. I think there's around about 3 on there that didn't have a telephone. One of them was a gambling and weed addict, and he'd thrown everything away in the process of clearing his stuff, and he gave me his name and his number, but he didn't have it. 3 months later, he changed his phone and got a job. He quit the probation service dependency, and he's turned his life around in a matter of months, having been dependent on the weed and everything else because of his anger, supposed anger issues, etc. But it's all on the website there, www.davidianrogers.com.
Wonderful. Well, David, thank you so much for sharing all those tips and insights with us today. This was really interesting.
You're welcome. God bless.
Keep up the great work. Take care and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.